Welcome to First Bite, our Detroit Lions preview podcast. It's week 6, Bengals week. The Lions are 0-5. Things are going to get better. Is it this week? We'll find out. Hey, my name is Jeremy Reisman. I am the co-host of First Bite and editor-in-chief at Pride Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Online on Twitter. With me, my co-host in that direction, the senior editor of Pride of Detroit, the co-host of First Bite, and the taken for husband. There it is. His fantastic ring. It's Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD on Twitter. Ryan, welcome back.
I'm married, man. It's awesome.
You did it.
Yeah, I did do it. And you know who didn't do it? The Detroit Lions.
Yeah, that's becoming a theme this year.
Yeah. Let's just say that only one of us scored this weekend.
Jesus. Okay. Well, and with that, let's move on to our special guest, because this is our special guest preview podcast where we always have a guest from the opposing team. This week is no different. We have from allbengals.com, the SI affiliate for the Cincinnati Bengals. It's Mike Santagata.
You did it again.
Did I really do? I messed it up again. Santagata.
It's all good. Yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry, Santagata. You can find him at Bengals_Sands on Twitter. Mike, besides me butchering your name twice, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited for this week. I almost asked you, how are you doing again? It's like, I'm pretty sure. Man.
What the listeners on the podcast don't know is that this is our second take because someone forgot to turn on the recording. I'm not going to name names myself. But anyways, let's talk about this week because the Bengals are a very interesting team to me. I kind of put it as they feel like they're 2 years ahead of where the Lions are in terms of a rebuild, where they've gone through a couple rough years and it seems like maybe they turned a corner. We're not sure yet if they're like a true contender or not, but all signs point to at least progress there. But let's start with the biggest sign of progress, maybe the most important piece of the puzzle, and that's Joe Burrow. Right now, top 10 quarterback in just about any stat you can find. What has been key to his success so far? Is it all the physical tools? Is he just catching on quicker than the average young quarterback? What's so good about him right now?
Yeah, it's not the physical tools, really. I mean, there's a whole dialogue about his weak arm and whatever else, but it's a lot of what makes him great is the mental area of the game. And week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings, this is just something I really noticed, was that he went hard at doing hard counts. And I'm sure, as you guys know, Mike Zimmer loves to disguise and bring pressures. And those hard counts, they got him. It's like they're looking like they're a single high, and then he gives a hard count and the safety starts going back and he goes, crap. They got us. They know what we're in. So that's a big reason the offense moved so well in that game. And very accurate, very good with his ball placement, good decision-making. The movement skills, they're coming back, I think. He runs quarterback draws and stuff. So it's not like he isn't moving at all. And he's trying to escape the pocket a little bit, but varying degrees of success. But yeah, he's just ahead of where you would think a young quarterback would be, where a lot of rookies come in and they have to learn the mental side, but they're so good physically that they can overcome some things. And he's kind of the opposite, where he came in so good mentally that he's overcoming the one physical attribute he lacks in his throwing strength.
Yeah, and I guess another aspect or a dynamic of that Bengals offense that they already had in place by the time Burrow got there was Joe Mixon, right? And widely regarded, if you're a fantasy owner, obviously Mixon is a name that's been talked about for a long time, but he's also been pretty integral to the success of the Bengals offense and what they're able to do there. Suffered an ankle injury in week 4, and that kind of lingered into week 5 and was a little bit limited against the Packers. Didn't practice on Thursday. So what does Mixon add to the Bengals offense that makes it tick?
I think what you get with Mixon that you don't get with every running back out there, he's a guy that makes your offensive line look better than they're performing, because he's just so good before he gets to the line of scrimmage with, what he can get blanketed as vision, but it's like the jump cut, to make the move to get to the hole, knowing what hole to go to, setting up the blocks to make those holes wider, make it easy on the offensive line. Because this offensive line, not a very good run blocking unit, and he's still over 4 yards a carry running wide zone and mostly wide zone, some other stuff too. I mean, you have to vary it up, but yeah. So I think what makes him, I don't know, special is his pre-line of scrimmage ability to just kind of like Burrow, where he's mentally ahead in the run game of where like a lot of other guys would be.
How impacted does he look out there, at least last week, with that injury? Because yeah, I mean, I believe he missed all of practice last week and ended up playing. This week he was limited on Wednesday. Now he misses Thursday practice. So I think it's probably fair to say he's still probably going to play. But how much of that effectiveness is taken away with the injury right now?
I think there could be some bursts taken, but he made a juke dead leg cut thing against Packers cornerback. This is how he got his touchdown, was that he bounced the ball outside. So I mean, he's fine fine on his left ankle because he jumped off that one, and then he dead legs on his right ankle. So I mean, I think they're both okay, even if I think it's a workload thing mostly. And he had this cornerback. I mean, he was playing Twister by himself in the middle of the field. He's rolling around on the ground. He tried to trip him at the end with his foot. He didn't get anything. So I think effectiveness wise, he's fine. It's just, can he take a whole workload is the main issue.
Right. And then the other issue there in the backfield is Samaje Perine is on the COVID list. So do you think the Bengals are just going to be comfortable just giving it to Joe Mixon the entire game? Is there anything that Perine brings that the Bengals are going to be lacking, or someone that they can step up in his place?
Perine's kind of the pass protection back a little bit. They use Mixon in that too, and they don't really pass protect with their backs all that often. They're well documented. They like to protect with 5, just like LSU. But when they really want it, they bring Perine in, and he'll stonewall a linebacker or something when they're in a double mug and they're like, okay, the 5 guys, this seems like a bad idea. Let's bring somebody in and let's block all 6 because they're right there.
Yeah.
So Mixon will have to step up there. He did it in the preseason, and then the season started and he whiffed on a block, and then he missed one block, and it looks terrible as a running back when you give up a sack. So he'll have to step up. And Chris Evans, the rookie from Michigan, I think he's got a lot of burst. He does a really good job out of the backfield. In college, he pass protected well, but the NFL's a different game, the bigger guys. So he's going to get some tests. I don't think they're going to give Mixon 30 carries, and it's possible they run that much. So it'll be Evans getting some of that, and they'll probably call up Travion Williams from the practice squad, but I don't know how much of a factor they'll make him.
Well, speaking of that transition to the NFL, it seemed like, by all accounts, everybody was quite worried about the Bengals' 5th overall pick, Jamar Chase, in the preseason, right? And those concerns, I think, are, essentially washed away at this point. Like, this guy, I think, is my front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, we're talking about, 5 touchdown catches in his first 5 games, which, pretty impressive. And he's being consistently targeted. He's getting a lot of receptions. He's a big focal point of that passing game. But there's so many pieces to that passing game, right, Mike? You got Tyler Boyd, you got T. Higgins. Is there any frustration that the Bengals aren't passing the ball more?
If Burrow didn't come off a major injury, I think there could be. But for me specifically, I know that week 1, week 2, they were protecting him. It was a lot of, okay, I know it's 2nd and 7, but we want you to run the ball here because we only want you taking so many hits. And as the weeks have gone on, the run attempts, especially in situations like 2nd and long, where everybody yells at them, have gone down. So their training wheels just slowly falling off, and it's going to be what the Bengals envision their offense to be. Now, if they're still 27th in attempts, I don't know, week 10, then it's more of a concern. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? The passing offense should be cooking. Why you draft Jamar Chase and run the ball? But as of now, I'm not too concerned.
How much of those training wheels are off at this point, do you think, based on the last few games? Does it feel like you're at where this offense is going to be, or still kind of working through that?
Yeah, I think they're pretty much gone, but I will say that I don't think they the only thing is I don't think they like to turn his back to the defense to run play action.
Right.
They do it a few times and usually with a moving pocket. So they're not running play action and then standing in a deep set from the pocket because they're worried about, well, what if a free rusher gets there and he can't see him? They want him getting that ball out and getting out of the way, or at least covering himself from taking a hit. So some of it's just a tiny bit still there, mostly gone though. I think the run pass stuff is starting to turn, and it's going to keep turning towards the pass game where Zach Taylor has shown that's what he likes to do the past 2 years.
Well, since we talked about Jamar Chase, I feel like we have to talk about what you guys didn't draft, and that's well, at least in the first round, an offensive lineman, and you know, it seems like the offensive line you mentioned it's maybe a weakness in the run game, maybe a little bit in the pass game too. How has it held up overall in terms of just pass protection? What does it seem like it's vulnerable in a particular spot, or are they making do?
I mean, they're doing okay, but yeah, it's definitely a vulnerability. Um, Left tackle, that's the strength. Really, the both tackles are the strength, especially in pass protection. Jonah Williams and Riley Reef. Riley Reef, right tackle, look familiar. I played there a
I
little
know
bit for
that
the
guy.
Lions. Yeah. Same guy, fine, solid performer, mostly
Sure.
in pass protection. But Jonah Williams, similar. He's, I would say, good in pass protection. Chicago gave him a little bit of trouble, but that
They do
was,
that.
yeah, that was Chicago.
Yep.
So unless you guys are hiding a Khalil Mack, I'm not super concerned about it. But left guard Quentin Spain having a good year. So that's especially in pass protection again. The left side, I think I saw a statistic. I probably should have looked it up, but I think it was 6 pressures all year for them. So that's really solid.
Yeah.
And then 23, I believe, from the center and right guard, which are the weak points. We Bengals fans expected the center Trey Hopkins. I mean, he tore his ACL in week 17 and he was out there week 1.
Wow.
More offensive linemen just being tough, man.
Yeah.
And but the problem is that he's not playing that well. he's out there, but it's not the same as he was the past couple years. And right guard, whether it was Xavier Su'a-Filo or Jackson Carman, it's been probably the weakest or second weakest with the center position along the offensive line. And really it is a concern both in the run and pass game, but I think both Joes kind of make them look a little bit better than they might be.
You mentioned Su'a-Filo and Jackson Carman at the right guard spot. Starting to look like both those guys might not play, which means you're relying on, is it 5th round rookie Deontay Smith?
Yeah, I think it is. I want to say it's 4th. I think it's a 4th round rookie. There were 3 4th round picks. That's the better. I think 5th was just Evan McPherson, the kicker.
Right. And Deontay Smith is dealing with an injury himself too, correct?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know when it happened. He's not playing too much, maybe in the field goal unit or something.
So, what did you get a look at Deontay Smith in the preseason? If he's starting, how big of a concern is that for the Bengals?
Well, it's obviously going to be a concern anytime that somebody that has never played an real NFL snap is going to start.
Yeah,
and especially when they're not a 1st or 2nd round pick. But I weirdly have confidence. I was a member of the Deontay Smith Hive, maybe the leader of the Hive in the preseason, because he looked really good. Anywhere they put him, left guard, right guard, left tackle, he was moving guys in the run game, getting some good displacement. Pass game, he's solid. And I was saying, give him a run before Carman, because Carman wasn't looking as good. But then, I mean, draft capital plays into it, and they gave Carman the first run. He's been I mean, not terrible, but not good. He's a rookie, having his issues. So Deontay Smith, if he gets the start, I have some confidence, but not obviously not a ton. And if Deontay Smith can't go, be interesting. I think they'll roll out. There's 3 possibilities. It could be 6th round rookie Trey Hill. It could be journeyman Fred Johnson, who has played guard before and struggled. He's better when he subs in at tackle. Or Isaiah Prince, who's currently the eligible offensive lineman that comes in and hits people for 5 plays a game. So it could be any of those 3, and I wouldn't have confidence in them really starting for an entire game. But I will have mild confidence in Deontay Smith, and I might regret that.
We'll see. It should be an interesting lineup matchup, I should say, for the Lions because their defensive tackles I feel like are starting to come on. Like rookie Levi Onwuzurike had his best game of the week, best game of the season last week, and I starting to feel like the rest of the guys are getting kind of their legs under them. Before we head to our first break, I want to ask Ryan a question. This is unheard of on First Bite. Do you think there's any chance the Lions hold up against these wide receivers, like at all?
Man, that's well. So I thought that question that you asked earlier was interesting in the sense that, like, you know, are the Bengals taking the training wheels off? Because like this should be the game where the training wheels are like back in the shed.
Yeah.
And the child is on the bike, and the bike is going 100 miles an hour down the road. Like Joe Burrow should air it out all day until the Bengals have a comfortable lead. How concerned are you, Jeremy?
I mean, like a 9 out of 10, maybe a 9.5. You know, obviously they struggled last week with Justin Jefferson. Amani Oruwari is dealing with a hip injury too, but it looks like he's going to play.
Adam Thielen shut down though.
Well, yeah, until the end of the game when he had 2 big catches on the game-winning drive. But yeah, no, I mean that they're trending in the right direction there, but there's too much youth. There's too many guys that they're just learning the position or just learning NFL speed. Where the Bengals are just so deep at wide receiver that, you know, even if the Lions were to shift like all their focus onto Jamar Chase, like Tyler Boyd's going to beat him. Like they don't have the depth, and maybe, you know, AJ Parker's playing well, so maybe they shut down the slot. I don't know. It's definitely the scariest matchup from the Lions' perspective in this game.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's pick your poison of if the Lions play one high, Burrow's going to take that go ball to Jamar Chase 5 times in this game.
Yeah.
But if they try to get in too high, they're going to go, okay, that means I can probably get a linebacker on Tyler Boyd. So it's which one do you want?
Yeah, I mean, the too high thing worked against the Packers for a pretty good chunk of that game.
For about like 2.5 quarters.
Yeah. Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what we end up seeing in this game. And, you know, Tracy Walker's coming off his best game of the season as one of those safeties. So maybe there's a little bit of hope there. But let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Lions offense versus Bengals defense, which is actually better than their offense. So stick around for more good news here on First Bite as we prepare for Week 6.
Oh, man.
Okay, let me talk to our live audience. Sorry I ignored you during that whole Biffed intro chat, but thank you for sticking with us. Thank you, Derek Boberg, for the 10 bits and Cromon for the 10-month subscription. Appreciate that. How we doing, guys? Tonight you guys are a little quiet. It's almost like the team's 0-5 and you've lost interest. That couldn't be it.
I have the perfect analogy, just sitting and waiting for one thing I think I know. So
look, you're teasing. I like that. You're making sure these people stick around.
I'm teasing and I'm over promising because I don't know how perfect it is, but like I like it.
I'll take that. Ryan, did you happen to see the results of our poll today of the Matt? Oh God, I almost said Matt Patricia. I keep doing that.
Yeah, why do you keep doing that?
Yeah, no, he's haunting me. The Dan Campbell approval poll after an 0-5 start.
No, well, I saw that you posted it, and then much to my chagrin, I tried to pull it up on mobile, and it just doesn't show up. The polls don't show up on mobile. So
yeah,
what are the results right now?
I want both of you to guess what you think Dan Campbell's approval rating is for Lions fans on PrideOfDetroit.com.
Go ahead. I'll take second guess.
Oh, Detroit loves him. I'm gonna say 95.
Wow. Okay, that's high.
Over or under?
I'm going to say just slightly under.
It's over. It's 97.
Oh my God. Yes.
97% for an 0-5 coach is unheard of. Like I put it on Twitter. I'm like, I don't think in the history of football, there's ever been a more popular 0-5 football coach ever.
I think it would be a little bit different if Matt Stafford was quarterback and there was a lot of hope going into this year.
Yes, 100%, 100%.
I think Detroit fans know it's like, okay, this is the first year of a rebuild. It might be a little bit painful.
It's a rare amount of understanding and patience for a Lions fandom that absolutely owes this franchise zero patience at this point. But surprisingly are, and I credit to them. I credit them with that. Like that's insane.
Do you know the only coach who would get a higher approval rating? And this is across the league.
Who's that?
Staley. Like I think
yeah.
every fan base would just give him 100% approval rate, even if they're not. Like you can pull AFC West like divisional opponents, and they'll be like, "No, yeah, we love Brandon Staley." Like he's just a great guy.
I feel like you're doing that to hurt me right now because that's the guy I wanted.
I'm not. Like here's the thing. I hope that the Chargers and the Lions play each other in the Super Bowl like 3 times while both these guys are head coaches, because like I feel like one represents like the eloquent, articulated, like sensible press conference, and then like Dan Campbell is just like the antithesis of that, like
cutting a wrestling promo.
Like cutting a wrestling promo or like wearing his emotions on his sleeves. Like Brandon Staley's just like, here are the facts, and these are the facts, and this is the fact, and like but he has such a like, I don't know, he has such a great air about him when he's communicating with, and like for a first year head coach, I think it's like super impressive.
This is like a very, very I think makes sense comparison is that he's kind of like Sean McVay, but I guess a defensive coach. For Sean McVay, a little bit more of a wrestling promo from Sean McVay, because you know he'll go shirtless on Hard Knocks. But he's very they were playing whatever in this down. I can name every player and what happened and everything like that. And, Staley coach for him. Well,
that's where I think the disconnect between Staley and McVay starts, because like with McVay, it's like, oh well, who can do that? Like nobody has that kind of memory, right? But with Staley, it's like he seems like very approachable, and he seems like kind of like your every man's every man, dude. I told Dan Jeremy Campbell's the other day that he is. They're two sides of the same coin, I think, which I think is so interesting, because they're both very authentic. When you get down to it, I think that they're both two very authentic people. But I told Jeremy the other day on our Slack channel, I was like, dude, you have to start running your victory laps. Like, don't wait until the end of the season. Like, talk about how Brandon Staley stood out and why he was your guy.
Right. I can't wait till the end of the season, because at some point the Chargers are just going to charger. Like it's beyond Brandon Staley's control. Like, this team
is Lions fan in you. That's the Lions fan 100%. In you.
They're going to go like 9-2 and then finish the season 9-8. It's just like, and every single one of those 6-game losses are going to be because of special teams, just because that's the Chargers.
Getting wackier each time. Like the first one's like, we missed a field goal. Right. And the second one's like, what do you mean? They returned the punt for a touchdown? Right. By the end of it, it's like, what do you mean? We kicked it off our lineman's head and went up in the air.
What do you mean we were up by 1 and we snapped the ball over the punter's head for a safety?
He was just supposed to. Come on.
I mean, can you believe right now a Lions and Bengals podcast are making fun of what the Chargers will do on special teams after we both just got emotionally ripped apart by special teams?
You're not going to find this content anywhere else.
Well, at least the wind won't be bad in the dome. Maybe you guys turn on the air conditioners when the away team's kicking.
We have to at some point, because I am sick of losing on 66 and 54-yard field goals.
It's like the Falcons are pumping in crowd noise. The Lions need to pump in some wind.
Like 2 years ago, there was a year, and I don't know why my camera's out of focus now, but where it seemed like everyone was just missing field goals at Ford Field. Mason Crosby missed like 5 kicks in one game.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen that.
That was the birth of
I guess he just does that every 2 years.
What do you mean? That's not normal?
Yeah, that was the season. That was the birth of Audible Dong.
It's true. What we people refer to them as doinks. That's the incorrect term. The correct term is an audible dong.
What do you call it when the kick hits the flag perfectly and then your kicker celebrates?
That I have never As a Lions fan, you tend to think you've seen everything. That is one I had never seen. A kicker celebrating a missed kick that pretty clearly was not in, but was close, obviously.
Let's remember, it wasn't just him. Somebody hoisted him into the air. Waited for like it was a big moment. And then you see some of the linemen that watched it and they're like walking off disgusted. They kind of look over like, what is going on over there?
How does that happen? Like, doesn't the kicker have like the best viewpoint and like also kind of the best knowledge of whether that's going to go in? Because like they felt it leave their foot.
Oh, I mean, it looked good. He kicked it with a boom, and it wind gust just pulled it just a tiny bit. So I think he felt it. Is like, oh yeah, that's a good one.
There's no way that one's gonna miss.
Long snapper's not looking up. He just snapped the ball, stayed down there, and he goes, woohoo! He's celebrating. I'm celebrating. Hoist him into the air.
Oh boy.
That if that was a primetime game, I don't think the memes would have ended, but we were saved. We were saved by it being a 1 p.m. game that probably some people watched because it was overtime. They always flip to those games.
Wait, that was a 4 p.m. game, right?
No. Right.
Yeah. Wasn't it? Because I feel like we were. Oh no, it was the post game show that we were on while everyone was freaking out because that game was still going on after the Lions game was
okay.
over. That makes sense. Okay.
Very, very Bengals ending to that game where Trey Waynes possibly tears his hamstring in the middle of coverage, and that's the reason the Packers got their field goal. It was 3rd and 15.
Ooh.
And he's covering Randall Cobb, and you just see him on the all-22. Cobb makes a cut, and Waynes just starts going, oh! And I'm like, oh no, that's how it happened. That's where he like pulled the hammy, and Cobb gets open because they were like, Adams is not catching this ball. True double.
That's rough.
Yeah, I was hoping for a tie. Maybe another.
I love ties. I know people hate them. I love them. I think they're so horrible that they're great.
The missed field goals would really sell that as a tie too. It's like nobody deserved this one.
Exactly. Let me catch up on alerts before we jump back in here. Thank you for the 100 bits, 200 bits, Nick the Greek. Mike doesn't know about that, and I'm not going to bring it up to him. When Matt Patricia left Detroit, 3 family-run meatball sub shops in Allen Park went bankrupt.
Oh, that's sad. Tell Dan Campbell to support the local businesses.
I don't think that's true.
Well, how many cake shops went belly up when Saleh went to the Jets?
That's a deep cut. Do you think people are going to remember that story in like 3 years? That
I'm gonna forget it, and I'm one of the few people who remember. So,
Mike, to fill you in here, there was a rumor during the Lions coaching search that someone saw in a local bakery a cake that said, "Congratulations, Robert Saleh, on the Lions job." And then people called up. Then there was people on the internet who supposedly called up that bakery and confirmed, like, bakeries are just like giving out personal information and things like that. And then of course it didn't turn out to be true because.
Wouldn't it just say like congrats like Rob or Robert, you know?
Yeah, maybe it didn't
Robert
say all
Saleh
that. Like it was, I think maybe
Detroit Lions coaching job hire on this day. I mean, maybe they went with the full thing, but I was just like, I'd be like, hold on, this is a joke, because they'd just be like, oh, good job, Rob.
That just feels like the joke that Community wrote, right, Jeremy? Like the expulsion from your mother's uterus.
Yes. I don't know what it is about this town, but they're either very gullible or there's just a bunch of weird, like there was a radio guy. Who was it? It was Khalil Mack. It was Khalil Mack.
Was it the limo driver?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The
rumor? Yeah.
There was a limo driver that contacted a radio guy who said he was chauffeuring Khalil Mack before he had been traded anywhere, which one is tampering. You can't do that. Which anyone who saw it right away was just like, that's cheating. It's clearly a lie. But since he's a radio guy, like it caught traction, and people are just, oh my God, it's so stupid.
Yeah, the only Bengals limo rumor comes from around 2007, where Andre Smith was drafted. Mm-hmm. And there was a limo driver that claims that on his way to a steak dinner, he had him stop at a McDonald's and he ate He ate 2 Big Macs on the way there.
I kind of love that story. I hope that one's true.
Then I think he tore his abdomen before the game, before the week 1 or something, and there's too much food.
It was just the Big Macs trying to get out, alien style.
Oh God.
Big Andre, any listeners, this isn't infamous in Lions knowledge, I assume, but look up Andre Smith 40-yard dash and go to images.
I'm doing it right now, and I'm going to show everyone.
He did it shirtless.
Andre Smith 40-yard dash.
5.28 seconds. Oh man, yeah.
That's pretty good.
I love it, big man. Less wind resistance.
Let's go to desktop. There you go, chat. Enjoy that picture. I don't know what this is, but this seems rude.
Not everyone can look like DK Metcalf.
Exactly. This man is a professional athlete too. You could have been if you tried harder, maybe. I don't know. Had more Big Macs.
The question, chat, is do we want to see video of it, or is just the still photo fine?
I don't think we need to put it in motion.
All right, that's fine.
You can imagine the video, the picture. It's got it's motion enough. Stuff's in motion. You can tell.
Yeah, that picture looks kinetic. Like
yeah,
there's movement.
He was a good player eventually.
True. 500 bits from Joshua Mercer, which I appreciate. He says, "Hey Jeremy, tell Dan Campbell at the next press conference to tell Sheila to install retractable roof on the dome and open it when other teams are on offense." I'm sure they're willing to put in the money for that. I'm sure that's totally legal too. Seems like
that's why you got to pump in the win secretly.
It's true.
You'll lose like a 5th round pick or something eventually, but
totally work. I mean, I feel like you don't want to use that up this year. I mean, you're 0-5. Let's be real. The only way in which you use that is if this team is 0-16 going into the last week of the season, game-winning field goal on the line. Then you just screw it. If they're going to fine us, fine us. We're not going 0-17.
Or the Packers game.
Yeah. You hate them too now. This is great. We should bond over this.
I don't hate them, but they're definitely the NFC North version of the Steelers, and I hate the Steelers. And I can sympathize with the Lions here,
yes,
as a fellow not winning team, and facing somebody who, if they're like the Steelers, one losing season in the past 20 years, it feels like.
Why do I feel like the last time you faced the Packers, it went into overtime too? Is that true?
Oh man, last time the Bengals played the Packers, I know William Jackson got a pick 6 on Aaron Rodgers. It was a very exciting moment for me. A bunch of penalties I didn't agree with, which just feels like a Packers game.
Yeah.
No, I remember. It was week 2. I remember this, and you guys jumped out to a huge lead and you lost in overtime, and I was pissed about it.
That was too.
You had much more of a reason to be pissed about it. I don't know why I have such a clear memory of this. It was week 3, 2017.
Lawson had 3 sacks.
Yeah, I remember what this is rare for me because
I think it might have been the primetime 4 p.m. game because it was
maybe
Packers.
I was at a Buffalo Wild Wings in Los Angeles watching this.
Why
game.
didn't you hit the button?
I mean, I guess I did because it went to overtime.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah,
why I shouldn't have hit the button.
Yeah. Just pay your tab and leave. Come on.
Yeah, Green Bay scored a touchdown to Jordy Nelson with 17 seconds left, it looks like.
I feel like I kind of recall this game too now.
I should not be bringing all this up to you. I don't know why I'm doing it either.
Yeah, dude. What?
It
says here that Justin Tucker hit a 66-yard
all right,
goal.
Shut up. All right, we're keeping you extra long here. I'm sorry. Well, let's get into this second segment here. And
extra long, just like Justin Tucker's field goal.
Mute. You've been muted.
Next.
I can't unmute you. I have to ask to unmute you. No, you're.
There was an option that I could click that said "stay muted."
What?
I don't know.
Can you
All
just
right.
keep asking, or is that a permanent decision?
Good question. All right. I'm going to have to ask you one more time before we go live because I have the memory of a goldfish. Santagata. Is that right? Nope.
Just do that. Yeah, just go with that.
Nope.
That sounded Italian. Yeah.
that's. I'm trying to make it sound Italian, but that
Go
doesn't
full
sound
Mario.
right.
Santagata.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Nice. Santagata.
Santagata. How am I supposed? How? No, whatever. We'll just go
In
quick.
Italian,
So
it's SANT apostrophe
Hold
capital
on.
AGATA for Saint Agatha. So Santa Agatha. That's where the
ooh,
break would be. Santagata.
I like it. Okay,
I look forward to you saying Santagata.
I'm totally going to.
Santa Gator?
Now you've messed me up. God damn it.
Santagata.
Is it Santagata?
Santagata. Tagata.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
tag. Like
Yeah.
you're playing tag.
There you go.
Go with a heavy New York accent, maybe like Santagata.
Oh, you do not want me to do accents. No one wants me to do accents. All right. Relax, everybody. We're getting into it. Welcome back to First Bite, our Lions Bengals preview podcast. I'm always here with my good buddy Ryan Matthews, and to help us preview the Cincinnati Bengals this week is Mike Santagata over from allbengals.com. Let's talk about the Bengals defense because they scare me, if I'm being completely honest, especially since the Lions offense is struggling at the moment. They're 7th in points allowed. This wasn't a good defense last year, though. And, you know, I did my little scouting report of them, and it seems like they hit the defense hard in free agency. They got a couple of weapons in the draft as well, but mostly just like really hammered home a bunch of personnel changes, and it seems to pay it off. What's working now that wasn't before?
You know, it's a lot of. Let's be real. There was a little bit of help with the schedule. You know, playing the Steelers and the Jaguars and whoever else. And then there's a little bit of injury luck. They've only really had the injury to the second cornerback where Trey Waynes just cannot stay healthy. Other than that, I mean, it has been an impressive unit. It did almost all come in free agency. I think part of that is the big turnaround. You have Chido Beawuzie playing really well, way better than in Dallas to me. I mean, he just shadowed Devontae Adams and made his life hard and got an interception on a target to him in man coverage. So, I mean, did what he did. I mean, you can look at the stats, 200 yards, but he went out for a little bit. He wasn't always on him, but a shadow of like 80%, and he did a pretty good job. Jesse Bates should have been a first team All-Pro last year, second team, and this year he's had a few miscommunications. I think that drives things down a little bit like PFF score, but I still think he's been an elite player. And then the defensive line's been huge, where last year teams could run all over them, but now you get DJ Reader healthy and playing less snaps because the defensive line also consists of Larry Ogunjobi's in there now, and Josh Tupou isn't an opt-out, and all these guys can play 3-tech and nose, and then you trade Billy Price for BJ Hill and a pick, who's playing better than Billy Price ever played in Cincinnati. So you add that in there. Trey Hendrickson is on pace for like 15 sacks. Logan Wilson's having a career year. Jermaine Pratt, the other base linebacker's having a pretty good year, and you have Keem Davis-Gaither having a pretty good year as a nickel linebacker. Von Bell's doing his thing. It's like everybody's playing about as well as like where you think fans expect players to play. That's kind of where like everybody is.
Everyone's
like,
just hitting their ceiling right now.
Yes, everybody's hitting their ceiling, and the defensive coordinator is doing a much better job with designing pressures than he did the past 2 years, and some of that's personnel. Mike Hilton, another guy that's just like hard-nosed, he'll blitz coverage once in a while, but mostly he's run defense and blitzing and all that. And I don't know, everybody's clicking. Defensive coordinator's doing a good job. It's like where everybody thinks it could be is what it is, and that led to, I mean, they're 7th in points allowed. I think 7th in DVOA in general. It's a nice unit.
And I mean, you talk about a lot of the pass rush. I mean, you got guys like Trey Hendrickson, who, you know, according to PFF, he's got 24 pressures on the season, 5 sacks. So, I mean, he's putting up the kind of numbers that get you paid, right? A guy that's a familiar name to a lot of Lions fans, because I remember he was mocked to the Lions in a really early Mel Kiper draft. Remember Sam Hubbard when he was mocked to the Lions as an edge? Like, I mean, so you have some pieces there in the pass rush, but it seems like what the Bengals have been able to do is they've been able to stifle the run game. I mean, 8th in DVOA. DJ Reader is, one of the highest ranked run defenders along, defensive interiors in the NFL. But you talk about some of those other guys, like it seems like they're all they're all imports from other places. DJ Reader, BJ Hill, you just mentioned, Josh Tupou. Like, what have the Bengals been able to do with that run defense that has made it easier on their pass defense?
It's. I want to be honest. I think it's mostly DJ Reader and what he can do, where he can play 2 gaps, gap and a half stuff, and he won't let guards, when they run a zone running play and you're supposed to hit him and climb to the next level, he just grabs on to me. You're not going anywhere. And that's really what leads to your linebackers having career years when there's not guys coming up to hit them. They just get to track the ball carrier down and make the tackle. So he makes life easy on basically everyone, and he does a good job stopping the run himself. So, and when you stop the run like that, and the Packers game withstanding, they gained half their rushing yards on one play where Von Bell hit him in the backfield. It's just Aaron Jones being Aaron Jones, and he survives that, makes another guy miss, and goes 50 yards. Other than that, it was like 20 carries for 50 yards. It wouldn't have been that impressive, but hey, it happens. That's how some people get their yardage. But when you stifle the run game on first down and sometimes second down, that puts teams into these 3rd and longs where you can drop back and let Trey Hendrickson try to feast off the left tackle or bring your creative pressures.
Yeah, and I think the DJ Reader Evan Brown matchup is going to be kind of fascinating. Obviously, no Frank Ragnow for the rest of the year. Evan Brown came in and has played pretty well in the past 2 weeks. And I actually talked to him today and asked him about DJ Reader. He said basically everything that you just said, but also he's got some twitch to him too, that he can pass rush a little bit. It's not his forte. He's more of a, like you said, a 2-gapping run defender, nose tackle, but he's got a little bit of twitchiness too. So, man, that's going to be interesting to watch because all things considered, the Lions have ran the ball pretty well up the middle this entire season, even without Frank Ragnow. And they're going to want to do it, and is absolutely a key matchup too, because if the Bengals get the Lions into those 3rd and longs, Lions don't have a chance. Like, it doesn't, like, even if the Bengals were an average or a below average defense, they're not good at 3rd and longs, period. They don't have a lot of wide receivers, and Jared Goff doesn't want to throw it past the sticks when the sticks are further away than 3 yards. So that's definitely, I think, one of the most key matchups when it comes to the Lions offense on the field. But I do want to talk a little bit about that secondary. You mentioned Chidobe Awuzie having a hell of a year. But what's going on now at the other spot with Trey Waynes out?
I think it'll be Eli Apple, and Eli Apple is Eli Apple, but I think he is doing better than what you think of when you hear Eli Apple. Okay. Not week 1 and 2. Yeah. Specifically, it felt like week 2 there was something that clicked and he wasn't terrible anymore. There was specifically one drive in the first week that I think Bengals fans will know what I'm talking about, where he gives up. He's the only guy left to make a tackle on the sideline, and he misses, and they get a first down on 3rd and long. And then the next play, Bengals get a sack, but he held somebody, so it's an automatic first. And then he gives up the touchdown. It was like 3 plays in a row, and it was like, oh my god, like, you need to fix this. But then you get to the Jags game week 4, and he is solid. He's fine. I mean, he's doing okay. It's the Jags, but at the same time, I mean, who's he covering in this game? Quintez Cephas is even out, and that was like the one guy was like, oh, sneaky Quintez Cephas. Yeah. He's pretty decent. It's like, oh, broke his collarbone. Well, I think they have a rookie amongst St. Brown, but I don't know anything about him.
Are you telling me you're not scared of Kaderil Hodge?
No, that sounds like a punt returner.
Close punt coverage. Trinity Benson doesn't shake you to your core.
Now that's a Madden generated name. You're trying to fool
me. We did play this game with one of our previous guests and how many wide receivers they could name on the Lions roster, and I think we just ruined that for you. But it would have been even harder for you this week because the one guy you mentioned who seemed to be breaking out, Quintez Cephas, out for probably the year. But Amon-Ra is a guy that I think could create some trouble. He's a shifty slot guy who has seen his production, increase over the past couple weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's, because I don't want to say it's like but it kind of feels like the Lions' strength is the Bengals' strength on defense. And then the Lions' weakness is where you would take advantage, where you want to get like, I have a good second receiver. I can get this guy onto that second cornerback and we can run some type of isolation route or something so that we can just pick up first downs when we need to. But instead it feels like, no, I could be wrong. DeAndre Swift, he's a talented guy. I liked him a lot when he was in Georgia. He's in Georgia.
Yep.
I'm 90% sure.
You got it.
Yeah.
And Jamal Williams has always been fun. More fun for you guys now that he's a Lion and not a Packer talking about SpongeBob.
Mm-hmm.
But they're both talented guys. It's just, man, that's strength on strength, and you want to have the strength on the weakness instead.
Yeah. And well, speaking of another strength that the Bengals have, acquired this year is the improvement from linebacker Logan Wilson. This is somebody that Anthony Lynn praised earlier in this week when talking about the Bengals. You see that year, his rookie year to like the sophomore year jump for Wilson, and I know you mentioned that having a guy like DJ Reader in the middle just makes things easier on those linebackers. Is there more to Logan Wilson than just being a run defender? Coverage specialist, because if the Lions are going to have any success throwing the ball, maybe it's TJ Hawkinson. Who knows? It depends on whether or not Jared Goff wants to throw it to him or not. But Logan Wilson, what does he do at the second level that has been helping the Bengals so much?
He's a turnover machine, it feels like, specifically interceptions. Some of it is just great coverage, but some of it is they run a pressure. Sam Hubbard hits the quarterback and the ball's floating and he makes a one-handed diving interception. It's like,
impressive.
What linebackers are doing this? Come on. But yeah, he's having a career year. I think what his weakness really is taking on blocks. But when you have DJ Reader in there, he doesn't have to do it that often. So he gets to work with that. Coverage, I think, is where he excels. But if you were telling me we're going to man him up on TJ Hawkinson for 30 snaps, I wouldn't be excited. I would be, oh no. Just because I think TJ is a good player. And I mean, he's given up catches. He's kind of like the corner, like the Antonio Cromartie type, where they'll give up catches and yards, but he'll get an interception and turn the field. Got nearly a pick six against Justin Fields. They like to bring him on pressure. And I believe the rule for him is, if you're free, just run at the quarterback. But if somebody picks you up, just run backwards and try to get in the passing window. And he has 2 interceptions doing that. So
not
something
bad
to look for with Jared Goff possibly missing that.
Yeah, he's been known to throw interceptions to linebackers in the past one game. So we'll see. All right, let's wrap things up here on First Bite, and we do it with the same thing we do every week, which is the one thing we think we know, which is a prediction segment where we're not necessarily predicting the score, although if you'd like to, you're more than welcome to. But we're predicting one thing that we think is going to happen on Sunday, and as always, we make Ryan do it first to show the guest how it's done, or more recently, maybe not how it's done. Ryan, what's the one thing you think you know about Lions Bengals?
All right, accuracy isn't important. I've been blowing it this year. I don't think I've gotten a single one of these correct. I said last week that the Vikings would beat the Lions by at least 3 scores.
Yeah, I said the opposite, by the way. I said it's going to be a 1-score game in the fourth quarter.
Cool, and guess what? We both feel like life sucks. So here's the one thing I think I know. I think I know that the Detroit Lions in 2021 are a lot like watching a kid who just got into Legos. It's really frustrating because trying to watch that kid put anything together, you just want to get your hands in there. You want to help them. But at the same time, you don't want to be dealing with Legos all day. Once you finally see that kid connect a brick to a brick, it's the most rewarding thing to ever see. So what I'm saying is the one thing I think I know about Lions and Bengals is that there's going to be an opportunity for Dan Campbell to lock in that first brick and for all of us to like let out this triumphant, joyous, just wail. but there's also an opportunity that the brick isn't going to fit on right.
Was there an actual prediction in there?
What's
like
the
it was
prediction?
like the Lions could win, but they won't? Is that that was not a prediction? What was that?
No, that's the one thing I think I know.
So
Okay,
nothing.
so I'm
I
supposed to.
know
Okay,
nothing.
so the Bengals are like watching a kid, and he's trying to start a car. This is how it goes, right?
Hold on, we
No.
love car talk. We love car talk. Go ahead.
No. Nope. No.
No.
Give me an actual predict. Are you done, Ryan? Like, am I moving on from whatever that was?
Joe Burrow throws for 3 touchdowns.
Okay, there you go. Good enough. All right, Mike. What is the one thing you think you know about Lions Bengals?
Oh, I was gonna go similar. I was gonna say Joe Burrow 300 yards, but to get away from that,
Please do.
so, punt gunner Kadero Hodge, and this is out of complete nowhere. He's gonna score a touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I have no idea why.
Hey.
Eli Apple will be on him. I think that Lions are going to score. It's not like they won't score this. I don't predict a shutout. I mean, that could be your prediction.
Maybe. I don't know.
You sure about that?
Yeah. Punt returner, gunner, extraordinaire, Kadero Hodge gets 1 touchdown is my bold prediction.
Hey.
And I get that right.
Last week, he scored the go-ahead 2-point conversion, and it was the first time he said today. It was the first time he ever got in the end zone in the NFL.
Now he's going to see it again.
I like it. The one thing I think I know is that, oh man, I want to say something about the Lions run game, but I just don't know what way to go on this one, because it, like you said, it's strength versus strength. But you know what? I'm going to go bold here and say Lions run game continues to run for over 100 yards in this game.
Let me put you on the spot, Jeremy. Who runs for more yards on Sunday? Williams or Swift?
Swift.
I like it.
Swift.
I was right there with you.
Swift breakout game. It's happening.
Bengals have been susceptible to pass catching running backs. So if he wants to leak out and catch some screens or something like that, I could see that a little bit more. I mean, I could see it. I don't know.
I'll be honest.
Bengals. I've seen it.
Those
this
are
prediction,
essentially running plays anyways.
This prediction has no basis in fact. I'm going to say it right now because I think we all
Yes,
agree.
I predicted a punt gunner to score a touchdown.
Well, but the Bengals are going to pass the ball a lot, and they're probably going to go up a lot, which means the Lions aren't going to be able to run the ball in the second half like just about every other game. So if they were to somehow get 100 yards rushing, it would be ridiculous, and I'd look really smart, even though I'm admitting right now I'm not basing this prediction on any sort of fact. But you know what? It's week 6. The Lions are 0-5. Maybe something crazy happens. A lot of things crazy have happened between these two teams in the past, 1 week. So goofiness ensues is my prediction, essentially. All right.
Go build the Lego set, everybody.
Go build the Lego set.
I'm still lost on that one.
I still am trying to figure out what that meant. Before we go, Mike, why don't you tell the people where they can find you? I also want to just kind of promote one of your things. You did an awesome film breakdown on the Bengals defense, why they're so good. And as a noted DJ Reader fan, there was a ton of DJ Reader film in there, so I was excited about that. So tell the people where they can find that and all your stuff.
Really just follow the Twitter, Bengals_Sands. And if you don't have Twitter, check out allbengals.com, the Sports Illustrated affiliate, or Locked on Bengals. I'm on once a week. Just find the one that says film review.
There you go. Well, thank you for joining us, Sands. I just called you Sands. I'm looking at your Zoom.
It's okay, that happens.
Thank you for joining us, Mike, your actual name. I'm not going to butcher your last name again, so we're just going to say Mike S. Ryan, thanks for paying attention for most of the podcast. Appreciate that. We almost got the entire way with you paying attention, but didn't quite get there.
I had to follow Mike on Twitter.
Oh, okay, perfect. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate you stopping by. We'll be back for our post-game show right here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. But until then, thank you for listening. It's chaos. Be kind.